This is iFanboy Pick of the Week, number 848, brought to you by iFanboy listeners just like you. Hey, welcome to iFanboy Pick of the Week, episode 848. I am Josh Flanagan. I'm here with my co-host, Conor Kilpatrick.
Hello.
And our third chair co-host, semi-regular, Dr. Ryan Haupt.
Also congested. Not the kind of doctor that can help you in any way, Josh. Sorry.
Right. Well, in my experience being a middle-aged man now, I've actually learned that most of the doctors weren't as qualified at that as I thought they were.
True, yes. But every patient I've had, I've been thousands, if not millions of years too late to do anything for.
Yeah.
So
you can't... this is the antithetical to the show, but I prefer if nobody made me laugh.
This is... we've had worse.
Yes.
There was like a month where we were all like on death's door once. And that was pretty bad. But this is just, you guys have colds.
To be fair, I'm not concerned about the audio quality. It just hurts to cough.
Oh,
now.
Sure.
We are iFanboy, and every week we make one more inexorable step towards death. Broke my own rule.
There you go.
We read all the comics that come out in a week that we can stomach. We pick the one that we like best, or just throw a dart at a pile if that's what has to happen because it's late at night. And they call that the pick of the week. We're going to talk about that book. We're going to talk about other books from the week. We're going to slow down just a half a step to make sure that we don't trip on ourselves. And then we'll talk about the patron pick. Listener mail, we all have to have dreams. There will be spoilers. Exercise some
This
caution.
is all self-inflicted wounds right now.
Oh, totally. Ryan, you had the pick.
I sure did, and pretty hefty stack of books this week for
Big
also
week.
being like completely out of commission on Wednesday. I had like a tickle in the throat on Tuesday, and it was one of those, well, hope that goes away, and then woke up Wednesday morning, I was like, nope, everything's awful. But I managed to get through my books, and in getting through them, the clear winner for Pick of the Week was Nightwing number 96 by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo with Caio Felipe on inks and Adriano Lucas on colors and Wes Abbott on letters. And this is sort of the final issue of the build-up that's been coming between Blockbuster and Dick Grayson, who he now knows is the alter ego of Nightwing. And most of the issue is a big fight between them. And that was fine. It was, very well choreographed. Bruno Redondo does these great action sequences that really have a lot of flow and kinetic energy to them. And then it was kind of a funny denouement to all that, where all of the bad guys turn against Blockbuster when they find out he's been running the private prison. But really, it was the final scene of this book that cinched it for Pick of the Week between Dick and Barbara, where Dick Grayson, trying to be the selfless hero, tries to break up with Barbara because he's, now that Blockbuster knows who I am, we can't be together. And she just calls his bluff and points out that every superhero who's made that argument in the past has been full of it. And she still wants to be with him, even if his secret is out. And it was that final word balloon where she says, but you're worth dying for, boy wonder. And then they kiss. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. That is scratching all kinds of itches that I needed scratched in a Nightwing book.
Secret's out for about 30 seconds, and then the heart guy kills Blockbuster.
True.
And thank goodness for that, because I was like,
yes.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
Don't daredevil me.
I was not happy originally. I mean, this was a great issue, Ryan. I don't, might have been my pick. I don't know. There was too many books for me to choose. But as soon as he was like, I know who you are, I was like, oh, come on, guys. Like, everybody's doing this now. And it's annoying. But then they get her out of it killing Blockbuster, killing him in quotes. He's a comic character.
I don't like when somebody does the thing that's super cliche, but I do like it when they fuck with us. So, like, if Tom Taylor's like, I'm going to fuck with them a little bit. Like, I'm going to make you think that they're doing this. I'm going to zig, and actually I'm zagging. I'm totally cool with that, because then they're screwing with their expectations. And there could be still some other, the Heart, what's his name? Heart Taker? Is it really Heart Taker?
Heartsbane?
Heart Snatcher?
The Heartless? Was it
Heartless.
Heartless.
Right. Okay.
I think Heart Taker's better, Josh.
I do too, actually, saying it out loud. Maybe there's some data on Blockbuster's hard drive. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan, you're right. That scene is the marquee scene. But like, I'm going through it now, and all these scenes are very good, including some really just terrific. And it's getting cliche to say at this point, Bruno Redondo art, where there's the one on page 4 where we're looking through Nightwing's mask at the action. I mean, just some really inventive, fun layouts. The extreme close up on the next page of Nightwing sort of making the fists And
I
then
really liked him
the
kicking Blockbuster through the window at the end of the fight.
Yeah, the double page spread fight scene was really well choreographed, and then just really good. I mean, God, he's so good. He came out of, I know he didn't come out of nowhere, but he leveled up out of nowhere, Bruno Redondo. Because we saw him, Josh, in that Injustice book, and it was good, but I don't know where this guy came from. And it's just this book sings when he's doing it.
I mean, he had his moment. It sounds like maybe Injustice, he had to do the work and he was trying to break in or whatever, and then he got this. I mean, I'm assuming Tom Taylor was like, I want to work with this guy again. I don't know that's how it worked, but that feels like how it would work. And before they got started, when somebody was like, all right, here's what I'm thinking. Yes, go with that. And you let the horse out of the barn. You let it run. And I think that's that's what you're getting here.
I did really like Ryan.
There's George Perez in the crowd.
He's the pizza guy, and Mark Wolfman. Well, Mark Wolfman's next to him. I did like Ryan. The other criminals turning on Blockbuster because he was profiting off their imprisonment was nice moment. And then,
had that been set up? That was one thing that I was a little like, did we know that Blockbuster ran a private prison before that moment?
I don't know, but
specifically, but man, like it wasn't like I was like, oh come on. I was like,
right.
Yeah, of course he'd do that.
Right,
He's like a municipal gangster person. That would be exactly. I mean, it fits perfectly.
Make money coming and going.
I did laugh at Electrocutioner using the Comics Code Authority, approved by the Comics Code Authority, to cover up all the swearing. I thought that was. That joke will get old if they keep doing it, but for now, I find it amusing.
Yeah, no, it was funny because it did it. The repetition of it was 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then not the final scene, because that was the epilogue with Blockbuster being killed, but the Dick and Barbara scene. At first it was very overwrought, like Barbara Gordon, Dick Grayson cannot be together, and I was like, oh come on. And then she did the same thing in the next page. So that again, fucking with us.
And the expressiveness on Barbara's face, like Bruno Redondo, just does such a good job conveying her emotions through that scene.
Oh, you dumb man.
Yeah. She's definitely grabbing his butt when they kiss, and I'm like, well, yes, it's Nightwing.
Dick Grayson might want to consider cutting the bangs a little bit.
I was thinking that. What I was actually thinking is that page where they're talking to each other, and the last bit where he's sort of looking sheepishly at the camera, and his hair's in his face. I was like, oh, that looks really kind of cool because he's just beat down. And then I sort of went back and go, no, his hair's like that in every scene.
Yeah,
and that's
we know that Dick Grayson likes to grow his hair out from time to time, opting for full-on mullet or ponytail. Maybe he's just... You have to go through that weird, awkward transitional phase where your hair's not quite long enough to pull back.
But it's like this in every... Like, they don't know what to do with his hair. Every time you see him, he's got, like, the hair down to his nose like this, and it just doesn't...
I think that... I'll go ahead and give people the benefit of the doubt. I think it might be one of those ways to tell the different Robins apart.
Oh, sure.
Not in costume, like he's got this hair, and it's actually on the cover, I think.
Yeah, it's the cover.
Sort of see, but then Damien's hair is pretty similar, which, by the way, sort of makes sense. Wait, or is that Tim?
That's Tim. Exactly when you first looked at it. I was like, oh, that's Tim underneath him, and then Damien on the right, looking like a dick.
Yeah, Damien's hair is a little spikier.
I was a little worried because the cover's sideways for some reason, and so I was like, oh, it's a sideways issue, and it wasn't.
Hate sideways issues. By the way, the best part of that cover, can you see it?
With the dog?
No, it's Batgirl.
Hey. Oracle. Or not Oracle, Orphan.
Yeah.
No, that's Batgirl.
Behind spoiler.
They're both Batgirls now.
That's fine. I'm calling her Batgirl because that's Batgirl. I love that costume. That's one of my favorite Batman supporting people costumes.
Yeah.
Because she can't speak. She only speaks through violence, Josh.
Well, not anymore.
Doesn't need a mouth opening.
Now she fully speaks, and it's stupid. But
then they should change her mask.
We should read that Batgirl series or like the first book of it for a book
Kane
and see if it holds up.
Oh, the original one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because I just remember that being, I think of it so fondly.
Put it on
maybe we shouldn't read
it. Yeah. Let's do, next year's theme could be ruining our good memories.
Ooh, I like that.
Just picking all the books we remember being good.
I mean, I think a No Man's Land would be a good
That's
choice.
Too big.
There's like 7 volumes of that.
Yeah.
So you got
like each volume's like a 400-page volume.
Let's not have a staff meeting on the show.
People love this shit.
I know. We have a lot of books this week.
Josh, would this have been your pick? Connor said he wasn't sure, which feels like a lie. I feel like this would have been Connor's pick.
I don't think so. I liked it a lot, but I think I had to pick it. It wouldn't be. Let me think about it as we keep going, and I'll report.
Well, I mean, Ryan, the big competition was World's Finest, which is I think I've decided it's my favorite book. Batman Superman World's Finest #7 with Mark Waid and the Return of Dan
Even though
Mora.
you're not a Dan Mora guy.
What are you talking about? Dan Mora? Josh is not the Dan Mora.
Oh,
guy.
Josh.
Although, you know what? At one point in this issue, I will tell you, is that it was a certain page, and I looked at the face, and I was like, "That's great. Who is this?" And I was like, "Oh, it is Dan Mora." Fair, and I went, "Fair enough." That's okay.
The cover has mistakes as Travis Moore. So I was like, oh, no. Well, I like Travis Moore, but this is a Dan Mora book to me. And so I opened the book up. I said, this looks like Dan Mora. Oh, it is Dan Mora. So we got a new arc here with basically a Superman from another dimension gets shot into. What's so funny about this book is it's so clearly not in DC continuity. It's in like this Mark Waid continuity bubble where it's kind of like the old DCU, but just with
Dick
some minor
Grayson
tweaks.
is Robin.
But then, I mean, obviously it's in the past, but then like Batman versus Robin is spitting out of this book. So it's like, what is going on with DC? No one knows.
Nothing makes sense.
Anyway, what I love about this book is that it spans into so many different corners of the DC universe. It's not just a book about Superman and Batman and also Robin. It's, we had the Doom Patrol before. We had the Green Lantern and other people showed. Now we've got the Teen Titans coming in with this one. And it's just letting Mark Waid run amok in the DCU, and he's doing it really wonderfully. I love this book. I
really love that thanks to Grant Morrison, we now have a 6-word catchphrase that you can use to set up a alt-take Superman story. Doomed planet, desperate scientist, last hope. Boom, we're in. I just think that's so, I don't know, the way Grant Morrison was able to distill that in All-Star Superman, and now like to see Mark Waid riff on it, I find delightful.
I like that they have a kinship after sort of 52. Like I would have not thought of them as sort of similar writers, but now I can see a through line between them.
They've been through the trenches.
It's Silver Age comics.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this a heck of a lot, and I love that it exists in its own thing, like you were saying. The only thing, and this fits with a Silver Age mentality, but not a modern mentality, and I struggled to bring it together, was that they find this kid, and they like in 3 pages, like, here's a cape. And I was like, you could have given him special clothes and kind of fucking toned it down. But like, and then you could have given him really gaudy, awful clothes with the circus trunks, But I was like, the cape, that is one hassle. That fucker's dragging on the ground. like I'd be like, why do I have to wear this? This is annoying and serves no function. But it was like immediately like, well, you're a superhero now. And I've been like, you know what? Here, take the special clothes. We're gonna let you blend in. Acclimatize for a little bit. They didn't push Steve Rogers into action this quickly after he got out of the iceberg.
True.
This kid, they were like, "You're on."
What?
And this kid wasn't okay.
No, he's not okay.
Like it was definitely like he needs a social worker before any. Like here's a room with a bunch of weirdos.
He needs a therapist and not a utility belt. So his he's freaking out because his family's all dead, his planet's dead, and everything, and so Robin takes him under his wing, and they go hang out with the Teen Titans because he's a kid.
So
using the Adam West era Batcopter, which was that was nice.
The goofiness of the costume. By the way, they also gave him a mask, which he never used. I like that. There's a touch where he's holding it, and then he's like, "I'm not going to do that." But either way, they go from that scene directly to the actual crushing sort of scene of him finding his parents who aren't his parents, and then sort of explaining, they had you, but you died at 3, so that really fucked them up too. And I was like, Jesus,
like,
Mark.
you just ruined 3 people's day. Like, I mean, probably their week, if I'm being honest. I mean, it was a rough, when I thought Mark Waid put a lot of interesting concepts here. The idea of a multiple reality situation, and then seeing the parents who. He's like, Mom and Dad, and they're like, get the fuck away from us, weirdo in a cape.
I know, don't make us call. Jesus. I think it's really interesting that he has put together, and again, I could see Grant Morrison doing this too, is this Silver Age pacing and mentality, but then just crushing melodrama around it. Like, at no point is this kid... Like okay, in a regular Silver Age comic, by the end of it, this kid be like, "Fuck it, I'm all in. I'm okay." In this kid is never okay.
Yeah.
In this issue at any point, and then they drop him off with some kids, which sounds like a good idea, But if you are in extreme mental distress, do you think you should be dropped in with a group
More
of teenagers?
Yeah.
Teenagers who have amazing egos and powers.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a worse place to be?
Well, you're hanging out with Donna Troy, so it could be worse.
Well, I'm not like that. Might seem like it makes it better, but that might make it worse.
I'm just saying they were all in love with her, so there must be something special.
The point being too that like it's. I think that's great. I think that the like you have to have a level of flexibility with your thought. You know, you can either be the guy, you know, who's like, oh, it doesn't make any sense, like I'm doing, but I'm doing it humorously. It didn't ruin it for me. I like it. I like that flexibility of let's just do it this way, and it works.
You know, this is my. I think this is my favorite comic. I think I decided this week. Nightwing's a strong number 2, but this is my favorite. And another thing that it's scratching for me is you know, as a Dick Grayson fan, I've always said if I was in charge of DC, I would want to do a book about Dick Grayson's time as Robin, but in through a modern lens, because we've never really had that. He was from 1940 to like the mid 80s. He was Robin, so you never really saw his partnership with Batman written in a modern way. And since this is in this Mark Waid bubble set in the past, that's basically what we have here. Other than like, you know, flashback books like Robin Year One, you never really had like an ongoing situation where we got to see Dick Grayson as Robin in the modern times, and this is sort of scratching that itch for me. Even down to
I could write that book you just pitched. I was like, oh my god, that sounds amazing.
Well, then I'll have you do it. We'll set up a meeting.
When you, I mean, to be fair, that place is in chaos, so you've got a shot.
We'll just go in the office and you'll just start working. Let's just no one will notice.
If you have a clipboard, just bring a clipboard with you, and just walk with purpose.
We have to stop at TJ Maxx. I'm going to get a short sleeve button down shirt and a tie.
I like. There was even if you go back and read those old, Batman comics from like the silver and bronze age, not the silver, more the bronze age. Dick Grayson is he's not the smooth operator you see now. He's kind of an arrogant, teenager.
That.
So the scene where he's hitting on the blonde woman in Candor.
Yeah,
it was very like I was like, I wish that was a better line, but also it made sense from the character. Like he's kind of he doesn't have it yet, so
he has to fail to be able to come into his.
Or it was just super cheesy, and so I was like, yeah, that makes sense. From him as like 16 or whatever he is here.
Well, look who he's got to look up to. He's got the Boy Scout and the fucking gargoyle.
I just really love his relationship with Superman on page 13 when he's riding on Superman's back.
Yeah, up and away. Yeah, it was super fun.
I just love this book entirely. I just do. It's God, Mark Waid is back, and it's so great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, Creepshow #1 out from Image was an unexpected thing. It's a known property. I didn't really know a lot about it, but it brings back, it puts me in a time and place.
Did you watch Creepshow?
No, because here's the thing. I don't like this kind of stuff.
Right.
And certainly when I was a kid, I didn't like it at all. But since then, I have a different appreciation for sort of its place in pulp culture, pop culture, all those things.
Yeah.
And, like when I was a kid, I was just scared of everything. So I didn't watch any of that stuff. I didn't watch the movie. And I wasn't into the comics. But now, I still probably wouldn't watch the shows or anything like that. But the comics hold a different place in my heart. That sort of EC 50s, the stuff that was destroyed and disappeared by Wortham, right. and the communist witch hunt and all that.
I think you're supposed to spit when you say his name.
it's turned 3 times. And so I'm not entirely sure what this is, but it looks, as I understand, it looks like Greg Nicotera, the SFX guru,
Mm-hmm.
came from Army of Darkness, has done Billion, did all the zombies in The Walking Dead, royalty as far as
Nicotero, he directed a good number of the new shows, the reboot.
Well, so it appears that he is somehow related to the fact that they got this license to make these comics and brought it to Image. And what you have here is a little anthology of goofy horror stories by top talent. 2 stories. You've got Take One by story and art by Chris Burnham, who is made to do this. He walks the earth to do these things. And then Shingo, written by Paul Dini, whose name I haven't seen in a while in a comic book, and Stephen Langford, with art by one of my favorites, John McCrea. John McCrea is from Cake, and John McCree is from Hitman. And it's just 2 short, goofy stories that are sort of horrific, but a little on the nose and a little humorous, and it's exactly the kind of comic that I like to read sometimes. And so I was, again, not my genre, not my favorite thing, but I was really thrilled. I was like, oh, I'm glad this exists, and then I read it and I just really enjoyed it for what it was and for what the creators were trying to do. These kind of comics don't exist anymore, and they need to. They're great. It's the same feeling I get when I read like Usagi Yojimbo or Hellboy comics, where it's just a pulp comic, man. There's some people running around. There's no, at the end of it, you're where you started. You do some short stories, and they were both great. They were both a little different, but sort of a piece. It's not much different than Tales from the Crypt. And when I say not much different, it's exactly the same thing. It's just a different little monster who introduces and takes the story out. I might have made this my pick of the week if we were talking about it.
Interesting.
Just because it exists, It's not what I want everything to be, but a little bit.
It's there seems to be, there things kind of get zeitgeisty for a little bit in comics, and based on the series The Closet and then this, it feels like angry parents who aren't getting along is in right now, because that Shingo story. Ugh, that was
you're talking about people who are my age or older.
People are stuck inside with each other for 2 years.
Yeah, and came up in the world of divorce. I don't know what it's like now, but pretty much everyone got divorced when we were kids.
No one my age can afford to get divorced. We're all too poor, so not that that's the reason that I stayed married, but it's like I can't afford to be single.
Every time I say something annoying to my wife, we used to just say, "How much is divorce? What does it cost?" There was a billboard once, and it was like, "Think you can't afford divorce?" And I took a picture of it. I was like, "Look, we can do it." But I think you can only make jokes like that if you're probably not going to get divorced.
Did you watch Tales from the Crypt, Josh?
Yeah, I love Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, I never watched Creepshow, but I watched Tales from the Crypt.
It was sort of one of the first things where I realized that I didn't want to be scared by something, but I realized that horror could be funny and sort of irreverent, and I like that aspect of it, which is what this is. This is satire, really. Yeah. It's about greedy kids, and it's about kids who are they think they deserve everything, and the parents who don't really know what they're doing, and they're ruining their kids. This is just social commentary. And Shingo is very funny. Shingo's like a big Barney who shows up, and they think it's a guy in a costume, but it's just a demon who eats children.
Evil gritty.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It's a bold new. I did not read it, but I might check it out.
Oh yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, it's popcorn. It is supposed to be. It's great. Looks great.
The dad brings a stripper to the kid's birthday party.
Yeah, no, and it's inappropriate too. The millennials didn't write this.
It's a bold new era for Fantastic Four, and it starts off with a tie-in to an event. This is Fantastic Four 692, the new writer David P. Post, and I assume new artist Juan Cabal. And we have an Avengers X-Men Eternals tie-in here. So I don't know why you start the new era off with a tie-in arc, but here we go.
So, which leads me to the thing is that I took a big sigh before I opened this. I was like, all right, here we go. Because for how many years?
Many years.
Many years, a new Dan Slott Fantastic Four issue was the thing you wanted. And, or not you, but you and I, Conor specifically.
The royal you.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, good. This is going to be great. This is just what I was just talking about. The comics I really look forward to. And this started out, and I didn't know what it was going to be, and it was my worst fear, is that it was fine.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, the tie-in part seemed pretty minimal. The tie-in part seemed just to be the reason why Reed went into the bunker. The rest of it was just basically
it was Die Hard, but in the Baxter Building.
Right. It was kind of like a heist movie in the Baxter Building.
The title of the issue is The Taking of Baxter 1, 2, 3, 4. With a riff on Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Great film.
Excellent film.
Even the remake is good.
Well,
but I was like, oh man, we're really going to tie in. But then it really didn't matter because I'm not reading any of the.
I didn't even know it was a tie-in. That wasn't, or after the first page or whatever, because it seemed pretty self-contained.
I would agree with you, Josh. It was fine.
It wasn't even bad, but
No, it wasn't bad. It was
I
fine.
spent the entire time thinking, like, what is it that Dan Slott was doing that I loved that is missing here?
Yes, I had the same thought.
I don't know what it is. There is I don't know. It's not a whimsy. It's not.
There was a certain amount of whimsy and Silver Aginess to it. This, as I look through this book, and Wonka Ball is a good artist. I've seen him in other books. It just feels very standard. Like if you look at the layouts and the way it's drawn, it could have been any number of those like Captain America, Bucky miniseries, or just any number of Marvel miniseries look like these books.
Here's what I think.
Everything's medium shots, and there's nothing really dynamic about the layouts.
And you're talking about sort of the presentation of it, and I think that if I'm going to start drilling
it's all
into
a piece,
Sure, no, absolutely, 100%. I think if I'm going to start, the thing that I'm landing on is that I can see the planning. I can see the planning of the issue, and I can see, this is going to go 3 to 4 issues, and so they take Reed and we lock him in a box, and then we find out there's people who've been planted, and they're going to take over the building, and we're going to learn that Sue is the most powerful. And
we know that, though.
I know, but when you read one of the Dan Slott books, you were skimming from one thing to the other, and the story never had a sense of ending. It moved along, it went through. I can see this laid out. Yeah. And also just like it could go over the place. Johnny's on fire and he can't stop. He had a soulmate, and you didn't really know where the end of those things or where they were going to go. And then there would be a thing that happened that was unexpected. And, but this was very typical. Here's where we are. Here's the villain reveal. And it's a villain who I don't give a shit about, or like I kind of don't remember. And again, it's not bad. It's just unfortunate that it had to come after what had followed. It'd be like they started season 7 of The Sopranos, and it was the guy who did Picket Fences. Right. He was actually a good showrunner. So it's a bad choice, but you know what I was trying to say.
Is the thing holding up the whole building at the end there?
It's and I like these shows. It's West Wing season 5.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sing. It doesn't have that magic. And it isn't to say that this isn't a talented writer or that it can't at some point, but it ain't there. It's whatever it don't have that swing. I don't know why.
There's a weird bit of magic that Slott brought in. It felt like an old school soap opera comic where one story led into the next story, and they were seeding things, and it felt like there was an epic thing going on. And here it's just, and this is much more focused. This is like, here's just this one thing happening. So it's a different kind of story. And I'm willing to read a couple of them to see, because I really liked reading Fantastic Four for so long.
And there are bits you didn't love the stuff when they went to the other planet and Slott's Fantastic Floor. And I think, at first you're not sure what it is, and we'll see what happens.
I think I like this better than you guys did. I quite enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of issues.
Who's this villain?
I don't know.
Who is she? Where have I seen her? I thought it was Red Skull's daughter.
No, apparently she's the daughter of King Dr. Midas.
I don't know who that is. That's made up.
I feel like she's
Cosmic Man.
You made that up.
I'm on the database right now.
You said it's oubliette, which is a French word.
I don't speak French.
I don't know.
It's a secret dungeon with a single entrance at the top, a whole trapdoor,
which is where her ponytail sticks out.
Anyway, it wasn't bad. It was like, this is interesting. Like the idea of like this heist in the Baxter building where all the Mr. Fantastic's locked away for 8 hours, so it's all going to take place in that 8 hour time span. But it didn't have that magic that made the Fantastic Four run of the last few years so special. Yeah,
no, and he's up against it, because we have been thrilled about that all along. Yeah. Like, I'm not entirely clear why it had to end.
Maybe Jeff he'd written like 5 years.
It was actually I think he said on Twitter it was just to punish you, Josh. That's what
oh man,
I thought it was a weird thing to tweet.
He found a little bit of joy in life, and I'm going to stamp it out.
No, it's okay, because I think if it goes on forever, then you won't appreciate it.
Oh, for sure.
So I can get behind that. But
I want to talk about Rogues Gallery number 3. I've been meaning to bring this book up several times. It always just doesn't make the cut. But this is a miniseries from Image Comics, And it was in the news this week because it's being developed as a series by Don Cheadle's company, which is a bad idea because it's not a series, it's a movie. I don't know why. I don't know how you do this as a series. Anyway, this whole thing is a home invasion story, and it deals with a lot of things that are sort of in the nerd zeitgeist right now. So the setup, and this is written by Hannah Rose May, who's an actress and a writer and a producer in Hollywood, and Declan Shalvey is the co-writer. And it's got an all-Irish creative team except for Hassan, Othman, Allahu, and others. Everybody else is Irish. Hannah Rose May is Irish.
He could be Irish. You don't know.
That's true. I believe our chief's not Irish.
It's a much more continental country than we're used to.
So the pitch of this book is that the star of a very popular superhero TV show she decides to call it quits. She's the pressure of the role, the pressure of the toxic fans and everything. She just can't do it anymore. So she quits the show at the end of the season. And the whole time before that's happening, we're following these fans, quote unquote fans, who are super toxic and angry about the show and the direction of it because they're big comic book fans and they don't like how they keep making changes, and they write shit about her on the internet. And they're also cosplayers, and they decide they're going to cosplay as the villains from the show and break into her house and steal the first edition comic book that she bought of the character she's playing, because she's clearly not a real fan and doesn't deserve it. So this whole time we've been sort of meeting everyone, and finally in this issue they break in and it turns sideways, and it turns out that some of these people are not quite there for the heist, they're there for murder. And it's a play on toxic fandom, it's a play on sort of the superhero TV show milieu, and it's a fun heist story. So I've been really enjoying this. I read it on a whim, the first issue, and I liked it. Read 2, liked it, and this is things are coming together now in issue 3 as the heist or the break-in happens and people start getting murdered. And I really liked it. I'm really impressed by this. It's really good.
You put it on here, and I thought, I don't remember reading that. I must have missed it. And then I looked and I was like, no, I never read this. So I'm fine. I didn't miss anything.
It's good. It's legitimately good. And
good.
I'm happy to read it. The next issue is the final issue. I mean, again, it's a home invasion story. How this is a TV series, I have no idea. But it has a lot of interesting things to say, and the authenticity of having a young actress write the book leaves a lot to the actor's character. It feels real, and the pressures feel real, and the reaction.
And another writer who understands
the form.
No, I was going to say toxic fandom.
Yeah. It's just, it feels like, we're at an inflection point pretty soon with fandom and how awful it is. And this sort of delves into that. It's good.
Fables 155, written by it's the original creative team, Bill Willingham and Mark Buckingham on art, inks with Steve Leilahola, colors.
Has it not been before?
Letters Todd Klein. What do you mean?
This isn't the first issue back, right?
No, it's not the first issue back, but it's part 5 of 12 of this arc that's called The Black Forest. And sort of like Josh was talking about with Creepshow, it's just kind of reminding me of an earlier era of comics that I quite enjoyed, and I think this, they haven't really missed a beat in terms of telling a story in this world of fables and myth, and I don't entirely know what the main arc is. It seems like it's a very, it's a lot of different threads that haven't yet been woven together. It seems like the big bad that they're building up to is Peter Pan, and what's interesting is I know that Willingham's original plan for Fables was to have Peter Pan be the adversary, which ended up being Geppetto, but there was some issue with the rights where, British law was rewritten so that the rights to Peter Pan didn't go public domain, so that the money raised with Peter Pan's stuff in Britain could go to this children's hospital. It was this whole thing, which...
Peter Pan is their Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, so I don't know what changed in the world of publishing or in the world of British rights and public domainness, but it's
an entire nation of people who don't want to grow up.
But it now seems like Bill's able to use Peter Pan. So I haven't talked to Bill about this, but I'm just curious how much he's able to use his original ideas in this sort of return to the story.
It must have happened a while ago because they had the Peter Panzerfaust book that came out a while back.
I mean, he was pretty far into. If you think about it, Fables was a really long time ago, and you're talking about at the beginning of it when you had.
No, Josh, it wasn't. It was just a couple
years
ago.
Yeah, don't do the math; it won't feel good.
And I think the one one thing I like is when so Bill was in the military, and so I like when he brings some of his military knowledge to bear. So the Pentagon is having a meeting about what to do now that magic has been released into the world, and Cinderella shows up and basically says, "Oh, you're going to need a whole new military branch for like magic users, and I'm here to help you with it." I thought that was cool. I'm excited to see where that goes.
The Flash 786 is another tie-in. This is a tie-in to Dark Crisis, and I didn't really care about that stuff. I like this issue, even though clearly the pitch for this book Jeremy Adams is doing is let's take the Flash family literally. So now we have Wally West and his kids have superpowers, and now Linda has super speed, and she gets a costume in this issue, and they're a whole little Flash family now. And I don't love that, but what I did love was that this issue featured a team up between the Justice Society, the Flash family, the Batman family, and the Teen Titans. And so you got to have Liberty Bell and Hourman reunite, which they were the couple from the Jeff Johns Justice Society book. And it was nice. It was just sort of off to the side. Like she runs up and gives him a giant hug. And I was like, all right, those guys. And then that was sweet. And then it was just fun to be with the Justice Society. And it was fun to have them team up with the Batman family and the Teen Titans. It was just, that stuff was all really fun. I just don't know where they're going with this, with Linda now being a superhero too. But, you know, it is what it is. This was actually a really fun, charming issue. Take away the reason for it, which was the Dark Crisis tie-in, which I'm reading and I don't even understand what's going on. But
Captain Carrot, man.
He's not in this issue. It's all people you know.
He's there.
He's lurking. There was one point where they're like, Justice Society, you guys take Europe. Batman family, you guys take the North and South America. And I was like, wait, shouldn't you flop this with that? There's way more people in Justice Society, and they have superpowers. A lot more landmass. But it was actually a really fun, rollicking issue.
Radiant Black, issue 18, story by Kyle Higgins and Lawrence Holmes, with Stefano Simeone on art. And the only reason I want to bring this up is this is an issue that focuses entirely on the Radiant Yellow character. And it's 4 different periods in their life, starting in the mid-'80s, going into the future. And the way it's told is the top panel in every scene is in 1984, the second panel down is 2002, the third panel is 2020, and the fourth panel is 2038, and it maintained that structure all the way through. So it's like, it sort of reminded me of those Gene Luen Yang Batman Superman issues with the film strips. But I just thought it was a cool narrative structure that they actually pulled off, and we learned a lot more about the backstory of this one character who's kind of been in the background, and this character seems to have, their power set seems to have something to do with the manipulation of time and time travel, so I thought it was a cool kind of experimental format that actually worked and told an interesting story, and so I just wanted to point it out.
So I dropped off this book basically when it became a
Power
lot
Rangers.
of people instead, right? Which is what it was. I can't fault it for that, but for the first couple issues,
we both
liked
really liked it. Yeah.
So as a person who probably knows Power Rangers better than we do, is this like, do you like it more for that, Ryan?
Yeah, I think so, actually. I dig the sort of riff on the Power Rangers vibe of it. So I think that is helping me stick with it.
So as soon as I had to start paying attention to other characters, I just lost the thread, and I was like, I'm out. I liked the storyline about the guy. I thought it was that book.
Yeah.
And then it became a whole different book, and I just jumped. It wasn't even that it was good or bad. I didn't care anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Oh.
I could see that, you know, if you're in it for one character and then they start introducing all these others, but I'm going to stick with it as long as I can because I find it compelling and I want to see where it goes.
It is weird to change a book from what seemed like a solo book into a team book.
Well,
I mean, do you think it was just, it ended up being more successful than he expected, so he had to think of ways to expand the world?
No, I think that was his plan. I mean, he was talking about the Power Rangers the whole time.
And clearly that's what it was.
I think it was successful enough where they started expanding it to other things. Like he has more, they had one shots come out, all the kinds. Like the world expanded. I think the plan was always to go the way he went.
Yeah, I mean, there was a mini-series focusing entirely on the Radiant Red character that I don't even think was written by Higgins. It was written by somebody else. So, but I mean, good for him. I'm like, it's cool that it's, you know, I'm not reading all of the tie-ins. I think I read the first issue of the Radiant Red spinoff, and I think I read one other spinoff issue, and none of those have really grabbed me. So I'm likely just to stick with Radiant Black. I'm not going to take in the whole universe of other options, but it's, you know, it's interesting. It's cool that it's working.
You're not going to celebrate the whole catalog.
I'm not going to celebrate the entire catalog.
X-Terminators #1 I read on a whim partially because it was getting a good amount of votes in the Patron Pick. And I thought, well, let me check this out. This is from Leah Williams and Carlos Gomez, and it's a 5-issue miniseries because they're all 5 issues now, and it opens with a parental guidance warning, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. This is crude humor, alcohol use, partial nudity, strobe effects, violence, and I was
my wife was looking over my shoulder when I had that page on, and she's like, strobe effects? How are they going to do that in a comic? I was like, it's just a joke on Dazzler and Jubilee. And my wife's favorite X-Men fact is that Jubilee's real name is Jubilation Lee.
Yeah. Didn't have to go far for that name. So, I mean, it was like, I think it was billed as like grindhousey X-Men, like sort of like, more mature, on the edge, humorously on the edge storytelling. And I don't know that it was entirely successful in that regard. It didn't feel that much more bloody and violent than any other superhero comic. Like at one point, like they fight a bunch of vampires and there's a lot of they're all covered in blood. But I've seen that in 100 comics. It's about 100 superhero comics, 100 X-Men comics. So I don't think it was that crazy. The only thing that was maybe a little bit more mature was this story is that Dazzler gets dumped, so she and Jubilation, you just did to me. She and Jubilee and Boom Boom go out for drinks, and turns out that Dazzler's ex was a vampire, so they get attacked by a bunch of vampires, and
they all have light and exploding powers, so that should be good for fighting vampires.
Right. So the only thing that to me was a little more mature was like the sort of the casual sort of
like,
girls
let's get drunk.
Girls talk, like you look like slutty Barbie kind of thing, but like or Barbie with a sex addict Barbie. But that was about it. Everything else felt like very standard comic book stuff. So I don't know what the big deal was about this.
It was nice to read an X-Men book that actually looked like it was trying to have fun.
Oh, I don't mean the big deal about the book, because I did enjoy it. I mean, just meant the big deal about it being like edgy,
like mature.
X-Men. I don't see the big deal about this, but I actually did really have fun with it enough to probably read the whole miniseries. But the characters are fun. I like Dazzler for no good reason, and so whatever. I had fun with it. I don't know.
I like the idea of like having Dazzler be a washed out pop star from the 70s. She's 65 now and like just can't get arrested in this town.
So those are the books we wanted to talk about. There's a lot of books. We had to cut some we wanted to talk about. It was tough to do. We had more books this week than normal just because there was a lot of books and a lot of things to discuss. But we always like to talk about the Patron Pick. That's where everyone who's a patron at patreon.com/iFanboy votes to add a book to the rundown to the show. And this week, the overwhelming favorite was Vanish #1 from Image Comics, written by Donny Cates, art by Ryan Stegman and J.P. Mayer, colors by Sonia Oback and John J. Hill on letters. And this is the new release from Image from Donny Cates, from Ryan Stegman. And this isn't one of their... is this one of their Substack books?
No idea.
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
That would be a pretty big power team to be doing a Substack book, but...
Well, I know Stegman's on Substack. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's funny because over the years we've talked a lot to Ryan Stegman, because we used to see him at conventions all the time.
Sure.
And he was a fun guy to talk to until you put a camera on.
God, that's funny.
He was always really funny in person. Then we put the camera on and he got very serious. But I've realized I haven't really read a ton of books he's drawn. I see his art online. I see it on like social media, but
I think the books that he likes to do and the ones that
a lot of Venom stuff
that he gets hired for are not necessarily our favorite things. And
so the cover is super like Wildstormy, and I think I realized reading this book that he's very much in the post-Image school. He's postmodern.
Oh yeah, no, he's a McFarlane
Capullo guy.
Yeah, I mean that's how I think of him. He's the Church of the Church of McFarlane,
which is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, not at all. Especially because he knows it, he likes it, he leans into it, he does that thing. He's not, that's what he's here for. That's what he shows up, and he does that really well.
Right. And so this seems to be a mashup of Harry Potter and superheroes.
But like dark Harry Potter, edgelord Harry Potter.
Yeah, and that was sort of going around for a while, where people were trying to do pitches of what if Harry Potter was basically like John Constantine, and not in comics, I mean in movies and stuff. Like people were trying to figure out a way to do like edgy adult Harry Potter, but never really worked out anywhere. But this is sort of like it's basically very much Harry Potter. Actually, you know what it is? It's Harry Potter plus Thunderbolts.
It's sort of if Hogwarts was a military academy.
Yes. Well, Hogwarts was a military. I mean, that's the whole plan.
I mean, according to the Minister of Magic, I'm sorry, we're reading the books now. Me and the boys.
So here there's a guy he's getting mugged, but this little kid superhero saves his life, but then he reveals something to the kid and freaks him out. We flash back to meet the guy as a kid who was basically Harry Potter. He's the chosen one at this magic school, and Voldemort shows up, and he ends up killing him with forbidden stuff. Which I thought that was a cool twist, where they weren't allowed to go back into man's world, and they certainly weren't allowed to bring anything back. And so this guy, who's basically Voldemort, is immune to all the magic attacks. So the kid pulls out a handgun they brought back from man's world and shoots him and kills him. I thought that was a fun twist. And it turns out that the other members of Voldemort's team escaped to man's world and basically hid themselves as superheroes. That's sort of the Thunderbolts aspect of it. They're all bad wizards pretending to be good guys. And so this dude, now who's grown up Harry Potter, decides he'll become a villain because the bad guys are pretending to be heroes. So he'll dress up as a villain, super villain, and fight them that way. So it was a very sort of head spinny mashup of these genres, and I didn't dislike it.
I just want to see that on the cover. I didn't. And then "dis" is in italics.
I'm actually not sure. I'm actually not sure how I felt. I there were bits of it I really liked, and the art is the art, but it was a lot.
I mean, I think that the way that Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman work for me is that I know that they are both incredibly talented people who have a lot of skill, and I like reading their stuff, but they pretty much work in genres and styles that I don't really like that much. It's one of those things where, like, I don't not like the work. I don't think it's bad. It's just that it's a little bit more of a stretch for me to get into it. What I did like is at the beginning, and I actually wish I just wish I hadn't said, "Oh, it's Harry Potter." Because what it was he said, "He's the chosen one." I was like, that's literally from Harry Potter.
Oh no, it's literally Harry Potter. Yeah.
No, I know. I kind of wish I hadn't noticed it, because then I can find the parallels. I don't necessarily want to make the parallels. But I did find myself interested in it.
Well, the parallels allow you to have a shorthand. It gives you a lot of information without having to actually give it.
Yep. And yeah, I kind of, for a little bit, I didn't really know what to make of it. I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm reading here, but it's interesting. I thought the set pieces were really good. I think that there's enough little mysteries in there, like the fact that he was drunk and drugged up or whatever, and then the magic hit him or something, and he's like, I'm sober for the first time in forever. And I was like, well, were you really drunk, or was there some other thing going on? Like, why would you take this terrible step to become a supervillain? This doesn't make any sense. All right, go with it. And I like that it's like, this is a Donny Cates thing and a Ryan Stegman thing, is that there's no fear of being what it is. There's no like, I'm trying to be cool here. This is this thing. We like these kinds of overbearing 90s comics. And, God bless him for it. I tend to be like, oh man, I love when, yeah.
We're in that age where, when we were younger, it was everyone who was inspired by Star Wars. And now it's people who are younger than us who are inspired by Harry Potter. So it's interesting. There's sort of generational shift in a way. Ryan, what did you think as a younger person?
I mean, I read all the Harry Potter books, but by the time they were coming out when I was a teenager, so I read them because everyone else was reading them, and didn't want to get left out, and they're easy to read. They're fast food fiction, and I enjoyed them. Nothing about this was bad, but it just didn't work for me. It wasn't the sort of story I'm looking to get into right now. It's sort of like I just don't have the energy to be introduced to an entire new world of new concepts. And you're right. I think that the point you made about the Harry Potter being used as a shortcut to help, get a handle on things quickly without a lot of explanation is good, but it's also just it's not where I'm at with this. I sort of felt like this is how I felt when I was reading the first issue of Scumbag, where it's like everything about this works and is technically well done and good. It's just not the story I'm looking for right now.
It sounds to me like you're at the sort of the last third of a first date with somebody, and you're trying to just be overly honest to get out of it.
Like, listen, you live in Arlington, and I really don't feel like going across the river that often.
I mean,
so.
I appreciate what's happened here, but and it's totally all due respect to you. I think I've had a fine time. You're a nice person. I just, and here are the reasons why, and you should have just get up and be like, hey, this isn't working. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you want to make everybody feel good, and I appreciate that.
I do. So I mean, I do. I like a lot of Donny Cates, what he's written. Yeah. I like a lot of what Ryan Stegman has drawn, and the combo of them is good, but just not where I'm at right now.
And you didn't move on to Scumbag then?
No, that Scumbag, that first issue I found I really didn't want to spend any more time with that character.
It's really interesting because I'm frequently trying to refer to generations, and not like in that way that people are like, how do we sell to Gen Z? I don't care about that. But I do think that there is a sensibility associated with the generations that doesn't cross over. And to me, the Scumbag is a super Gen X book.
Yes.
And I, or like when you were talking earlier about the X-Terminators, like this isn't, I was like, maybe this is millennial edgy. Like whatever that counts for now. It's just all this stuff. Oh, you wouldn't do this and at this time. You wouldn't say these kind of things or whatever, but it's, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I would love to know if that goes with other things, but I don't know. I wouldn't actually ascribe that to Vanish so much. I don't know that I know what to make of it. I think there's a very good chance that issue 2 could push me real hard one way or the other. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about it because I did like I really did. When he pulled the gun, I went, oh, like it was a twist I wasn't expecting, and it really worked from the story. It's just a matter of, is there something here beyond it being a Harry Potter riff, Harry Potter plus Thunderbolts? So I'm interested enough to see.
I actually think that the pointing out how much this feels like a Wildstorm book, that might actually be what gets me to issue 2. Because I actually missed the Wildstorm books. I thought there were some gems in there.
Well, I mean, I just mean sort of the style of the character design. The character design, and it looks sort of like Witchblade, the cover.
Mm-hmm. I just hadn't clocked that until you said it, and I think you're absolutely right.
I just think darkness, and I love this. I think that you've got Cates and Stegman who have no problem with going, we fucking love Mark Silvestri.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I love that. I'm past any snobbery of that kind in comics. Like if somebody's like, no, I love Mark Silvestri, I'm like, I don't get it, but go. Yeah, that's awesome. You should. I think that's what it is.
So what do we think about Vanish ratings-wise? Ratings out of 5.
I think they put a lot of money up on the screen. Like if I was talking about in movie, like the making, like this looks like an expensive book if that's possible. You know what I mean? It's not. It doesn't look like an IDW book. Sorry,
it's a fully realized situation.
Yeah. So if I'm going to go for a rating, I'm going to say 3.25.
That feels low.
It does feel low. What you were saying.
I think I grade differently than you guys do. It's subjective in that, like, if you never showed me another issue of this, I would never remember it. Not because it's bad. It's just
I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5, and I'm going to say I am probably sticking with it, depending on the week.
Probably.
I feel like an insane person right now, but I think I'm going 3.75 and not planning to stick with it.
This is because we've never laid out actual like reasons for the numbers. You come up with a number in your head that makes sense, and it's not the same thing. What I think is not the same thing as what Conor thinks. Like your grading curve is different.
Oh, Ryan, I love that. That's so great.
Just a generous spirit.
I didn't like the book. Here's a higher rating than the book.
I just want everyone to have a good time.
It was one of those movies. I think we did, was it Black Widow or something? And everyone hated me. And at the end, we were all like 3.5. Like I was railing on it, like here are the problems or whatever, but I enjoyed it. And then at the end, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. People were like, Jesus, Josh hates everything. I was like, we all said the same number.
Yeah, well, you were very angry on the show. So it was whiplash.
I thought it was the first time I'd gone to a movie, and I wanted it to be better.
So there's your patron pick. Vanish number 1, patreon.com/iFanboy. Every person who is a patron of the show gets to vote with the book, add a book to the rundown. And thanks to all who do. But if you give the $5 or higher level as a patron, you get your superpower live on the show. This week, Ryan's got the honors.
So I've gotten in the habit of when a patron power is revealed to me, I'll text myself the power, which is not the most efficient way to keep track of things, especially because my phone would not turn on this morning. But
that's not a bad idea. Well, you need 2 phones for that, right?
No, you can text your own number. It'll just come right back to you.
I just have a note that goes across all my devices. So
that would be a better way to do it, but that's not how I've chosen to do it. So I managed
notes. I have Post-it notes everywhere.
But I knew I had a good one, so I managed to pull up my message archive and retrieve it. And so fortunately now I'm able to reveal that Adam, Neal, Crispin has the power that whenever they need a ride, they can summon Jeremy Clarkson driving a Reliant Robin to give them a ride wherever they need to go.
As long as they don't turn too quickly.
So yeah, I had to have Josh on the show for that one, for that to make sense.
Can I tell you that we went through a brief period where my children and I, and even Lindsay, would watch Top Gear together, and they loved it. They don't like anything I like. And that Reliant Robin one, that was like a family milestone.
It's so funny. It holds up. For those who don't know, Reliant Robin is this weird North England car that had 3 wheels because it meant that you could drive it with a different kind of license or whatever, but it has 1 wheel in the front and 2 in the back, and so if you turn hard, it just flips. And Clarkson, being a large man who likes speed and power, he flips it quite a bit. Yes. So he can instantly summon a ride, but it's going to be Clarkson driving Reliant Robin.
Listen, beggars can't be choosers.
We're not supposed to say anything nice about Jeremy Clarkson.
Isn't he back? Doesn't he have a show again?
Yeah,
I like that farm show.
The Amazon show. The farm show.
A new one just came out, which is why it was on my mental radar.
Season of the Grand Tour just came out.
Well, they don't do seasons anymore. They just do specials. So a new special came out where they're in Scandinavia.
Right.
All right. So thanks, Adam, for being a patron. Patreon.com/iFanboy. If you give it the $5 or higher level, you get a superpower live on the show. And as expected, because we added more books than usual, because it was a big week, we have to skip the audience question, which is a bummer, but we have the 850th episode coming up soon, so hopefully that'll make up for it. In the meantime, you can write us at contact@ifanboy.com to get your email on this show. If you want it for $8.50, put $8.50 in the subject line. You can also write it for the Mediasplode, put Mediasplode in the subject line. All that is happening at contact@ifanboy.com. Thanks to everyone who writes in.
I'm gonna give a spoiler here. I want to do this question later, but everybody should look through or read The Killing Joke one more time before we do.
Okay.
Maybe
at least the last
page. Have that be read. Yeah. That's my...
Oh, man. But then I won't... All right.
Well, don't put so many books in there, producer man.
It was a big week. Couldn't be helped.
It was. And yet I didn't have any of the books to talk about. So, real quick, as we're doing this, did you tell them how to write in? Did you do that?
I did all that, yep.
Yeah, I figued you would have, but
You were reading the email when I did that.
I was totally reading the email, which is kind of like doing the show in the future. Listen, there's all sorts of things that you can do to support the show, and when you do, you should know that we are eternally grateful for it. None of this is required. You want to listen to this show, you want to say you like the show, and that's all you do, then we're all totally fine with that. But if you are willing and you are able, if you want to go to patreon.com/ifanboy, you can become a supporter of this show that we do and become part of the great community and unlock shows for everybody and just keep things going. We need more $5 a month patrons because I don't have enough patron power stuff in my life. And we can't just be giving them out willy-nilly.
Mm-hmm.
But, the list is shorter now. So if you're like, I don't want to do it because I'll never get mine. And I'm also not saying, hey, just sign up for patron power and then go away. I think that'd be pretty lame. But no.
But I do want
do
to
that.
reiterate that if you have signed up and we haven't given you your power, it's possible we've missed you because of the way Patreon works when you change your contribution. So I'm not talking about people who've signed up lately because we have a list of people. But let's say you signed up last year and we haven't given you a power and you're supposed to get one. Please email us. I know we've had people tell us that in various places, but no one's ever emailed us. We're happy to give you the power that you're owed. We just need to
you
know.
were on $5 a month, for a couple of months, and then you went away. I'm totally fine with giving you a power. Write in and let us know if you think you've been passed over.
Just please write in, because I know people have messaged us on Instagram or places like, hey, I never got my power. Yeah. And I say, please write us in, and then they never do. Maybe
Contact at iFanboy.com because everything else is very...
They're scared of email, but...
Right, but everything else is transitory. We'll see it, and then we'll move on and forget about it. So send it to contact. It will get taken care of. It's really important to us. I don't want anybody to make you feel like Ted Leo made me feel. That's deep, but I'm still not over it. No, 5 fucking years out there. He's touring. It was a pandemic. He didn't have shit to do. Send the fucking records out, or at least update the Kickstarter, and I'll go to the shows. I love him, but it really makes me angry. Ruin crowdfunding.
You should go to the shows with a sign saying, "Where's my record?"
Every day, I think I should confront him on social media, but I don't want to, because I want him to make music, and where's my record? Anyway, we're out of time for that. So patreon.com/ifanboys. Honestly, thanks to everybody. We will not Ted Leo you. We will, and then we will also continue to make great content for you, which is the real reason you did it in the first place. And goddamn it, he's a genius, and he puts on a great show. ifanboy.threadless.com is where there are 12 designs on t-shirts and other items that you would like to put your stuff on, including our newest design, the GOSH, or gosh, good old superheroes. I do. And we
have 2 new ideas.
Yeah,
we literally have them. We've been talking about them. It's just a matter of, it's a slow moving caravan. From idea to
on
product.
Staff, you have a brilliant idea man. I think is what we're getting at here.
Oh, sure.
When you need an idea, we're down to it. I'm like, all right. I mean, I'm not saying it's me. I'm saying there's somebody on staff who has light hair and blue eyes, and he, when it comes down to it, I saw on his resume actually.
This is Josh. He's having the very first T-shirt idea he's ever had, and now he's very excited about it.
You mean like Gosh and Clint is dead?
I'm pretty sure those were not your ideas.
Those were absolutely my ideas.
No, they were your phrases, but I don't think the shirt ideas were your ideas. I think the design.
Go back to the show where I said Clint is dead.
I'm saying the designs were.
The design concept on Clint is dead is mine.
We could have done an email if this is where we were going to go.
I said the skull thing in the mask. I tried to do a drawing. It was very bad. But we luckily had time. I'm not gonna. I can conceive it, and I can go yes, no. But I didn't do a lot of the other ones. But those last rash of them, they were good. And who knows if these ones I'm even talking about will go past committee? I don't know.
Right.
I've been sick. ifanboy.com/support. I just want my due, everyone. ifanboy.com/support. There's a PayPal link if you don't want to deal with any of that. ifanboy.com/Amazon affiliate link, so you can buy stuff from Amazon if you need to. And there'll be links to the Booksplode books and the pick of the week, and the music on the show is always there. You can finally look for links to bookshop.org to buy books that we talk about and be able to purchase them from local bookstores through this amazing system. You'll find those links where it is appropriate. Let's move along.
We had some extra shows this month. Just this past week, a couple days before this show, you had our Media Split episode, Old Men and Old Movies, The Poseidon Adventure, which me and Josh and Ron, our original co-host, talked about The Poseidon Adventure for half the show. The first half of the show is us talking about what we've been enjoying. There's a whole little impromptu Battlestar Galactica game we play. And then we talk about the disaster movie classic, The Poseidon Adventure, for about 30 minutes. It was a fun discussion. This coming week, in lieu of Talksplode this month, because Josh has a lot of things going on and he can't spend the time it takes to produce that show, which is probably the most producer-intensive show we do. We're doing a special edition Moonfall versus Geostorm discussion. Josh and I watched the 2 most recent disaster films, Moonfall and Geostorm, and debated them.
We just couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
We came off the Poseidon Adventure and was like, I need some more of that sweet juice. And the moons came together, as it were.
And fell apart.
But the Earth still survived for some incomprehensible reason.
I think
like Michael Myers.
The trailer for Moonfall is one of the best trailers to come out in recent years.
You should watch that movie, Ryan.
I've seen it.
Okay.
I'm the kind of a low-key big Patrick Wilson fan. I don't know why. I just feel like he's
delightful. That's why.
Yeah.
So that's coming up this coming week. You can check that out. And then next month in October, we'll have our Booksplode review of Cosmic Odyssey by Jim Starlin and Mike Mignola. And then Pick a Week 850, we'll be doing it live like we do all these big anniversary shows. All 3 of us will be there Friday, October 7th, starting around 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern ish, and it'll be live on YouTube. So we'll put links out on our social. We'll put links out on the website. If you haven't been able to join one of those before, it's a lot of fun. If you want to get your email on the show, send it to contact@ifanboy.com with 850 in the subject line. And so I'm letting you all know. We've been letting you know for the last couple of weeks. I'm letting you know now. Last time we did 800, someone got mad at us that we hadn't promoted it, which was obviously not the case. They just weren't listening to the end of the show. This is when it's happening. Friday, October 7th. Be there. We like as many people in the chat room as possible. It's fun. It'll be 3 hours. And then I figured one more time, since Ryan's here, we'll plug the Great American Pop Culture Quiz Show, which the three of us competed on against each other at usaquizshow.com. Look for the iFanboy show or the J. Jonah Jameson image. But if you want to hear the three big brains going at it over pop culture knowledge, you can check that out. Again, it was the closest ending they've ever had on the show in terms of score. So it was a tight race. It was fun.
That's right. We score similarly.
It was fun. It was really fun.
I'm gonna I want to hear it because I want to know what they made out of it. So as we do this part, I'm going to just actively put it on my phone so that I don't forget.
I take trivia way too seriously, so I don't know if you'll hear it in my voice when you listen to the show, but I'm so stressed the entire record because I want to do well. I don't want to be,
So the reason that you're saying that is because you did not understand ahead of time. You didn't have to. You're not old enough that when it started, you went, I'm not going to be able, I know these things, but I know I won't be able to capture them in the time provided.
Yep.
So I've just accepted that.
I think there's a contrast between you can hear you accepting that. I've listened to the episode, so I feel like you can hear Josh giving up, and you can hear me trying harder and harder to hang on.
Like the other half of it though, is it like, I know it. I don't need to prove it to you. And being able to prove it hasn't really done a lot for my life, so who gives a shit? I got my moment and I was happy with it.
So anyway, check it out at usaquizshow.com. And finally, head over to ifanboy.com. You can find all of our archive of years and years of great writing about comic books. There's a lot of evergreen stuff in there, columns and news stories and all kinds of things from all of our talented staff over the years. You can find out what the pick of the week is before the show comes out by following @ifanboy on Twitter or @ifanboy comics on Instagram. And individually, we are CS Kilpatrick on Instagram, J.A. Flanagan on Instagram, Ryan Haupt on Instagram, or Haupt on Twitter. And you can subscribe to our YouTube page, youtube.com/ifanboy, where you'll find not only this show every week, but all of our old video shows are there from years and years and years of making video content. We have 2 more shows coming that we're missing. I know it's 3 weeks now we've been talking about this. I'm going to take care of it this weekend and get those shows up. And we'll have a complete archive thanks to Damien in Poland, who had those episodes that were missing in our files. So all the video content will be youtube.com/ifanboy for you to enjoy.
If you like this show, you can write a review for it or leave a star rating on Apple Podcasts or whatever your pod-catching application of choice is. Anywhere there is a chance to do that, that is super helpful. Or, you like a show, send it to a friend who you think will like it. People do that by text message now, or perhaps by on WhatsApp, or who knows? Use the way you should do TikToks about us. What I want you to do a little iFanboy dance like this. Do people still do the dances? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
I see a lot of things where just a girl who is pretty looks at a camera and she turns her head and shoulders a little bit, and that's it. That's the whole thing. And they make 5 times the living I do. And that I don't understand the word. I'm not angry about it anymore. But if you can do that, like if you're like a kind of pretty person and you want to like turn your head a little bit and then have it be like iFanboy Comics, that would probably double our listenership, is my guess.
I mean, wouldn't the iFanboy dance being wearing cargo shorts and sitting half folded over on a couch?
Listen, it's not the past. We've all, yes, in the past it would have been, but now it's not that. Now it's coughing. It's putting a hand on the small of your back for a little bit of support, and just to take a little of that pressure off. And then it's looking up at the time and rubbing your eyes. That's the iFanboy dance. Oh boy.
Okay.
And then a sigh. Then all right, let's get on with it. Here we go. And that's not just me in my current state. Conor, you do all those things. That's fine too. How's your back feeling, Ryan? You've been on the show with us for a while.
Every once in a while,
Actually,
I'll pull a muscle in my lower back, but I've been pretty good for a while.
Now we're running long, but it's okay because Ryan's editing this one. What hurts, Ryan?
What hurts?
Real quick.
I think Conor was in the loop more about this than you were, Josh, but I had a tooth thing a little while ago. And that was hurting for a while because I'm apparently immune to like certain narcotics that numb you, so I have to get like some crazy stuff. But even then, my mutant power is like metabolizing painkillers very quickly. So for a while, I still had some residual pain in my jaw, but that seems to have mostly gone away. So I'm actually okay at the moment.
That's not like an overuse injury.
Well, I think I clench my teeth in my sleep, and I have a mouth guard that I should wear more often, but I'm not good about it.
Right.
Are you under some kind of stress?
I mean, almost constantly, but
let me ask you this:
what hurts are my cortisol levels.
I don't know why I'm laughing at that. That's terrible.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's so good. Hey, we'll be done. Thanks for listening. All that stuff. We'll say the things. A lot of people who listen to this show who I don't necessarily know or I kind of know a little bit have been extremely kind and generous and thoughtful towards me. And if you're still listening to this at this point, I just want to say thank you very much. It means the world to me. Stuff like that really keeps me going and lifts my spirits up because I believe that there's like I can be like, all right, there's totally goodness in the world and things like that. So thank you to everybody who has reached out.
I do want to say, if you're still listening at this point, I want you to respond in whichever format, in whichever Instagram, Twitter, whatever, with one word of what hurts. Just one word.
Oh.
Just tell us what hurts from one word.
I think when I'm editing the show, when I made Josh laugh with that cortisol line, I'm just going to put in the longest slow fade out that I've ever done. And we're just going to be getting quieter and quieter.
So thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, Ryan, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Conor.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Josh.
Fence work done, so like in the middle of that discussion, there's like a guy under my deck outside my window to my office, and like moving my bike around. I'm like, "What the fuck, dude?" And so now my dog's going crazy. So I'm muting as.
You don't touch his fucking bike. I love that guy. You don't touch his fucking bike.
Well, my neighbor usually texts me when stuff like that's happening, so it's like when I see a random man under my deck grabbing one of my bikes, I'm just like, am I getting robbed while recording the show? Excuse me.
Well, this is awkward. Excuse
Sir.
me, guys. I have to go check.
I have to go chase down this guy.
Just for the record, if that happens,
Go
leave
chase
the mic on.
Yeah, leave it on.